I live in Paris for those who don't know, in France. And in the past week, I have had several conversations with people, friends, people I know. And the topic that comes up is war. And there's this real sense in France, and I don't, well, I have no idea what it's like in other countries, but it's becoming a looming reality. And everybody who talks about it says it's going to happen. We just don't know when. And I don't know. I just want to say that it just feels totally, it, it shifts my way of going about my day and looking at things. It brings it brings the night the good moments more into perspective, but it also brings a sense of doom. It's difficult. It feels totally crazy, unreal, and at the same time very very real. I don't know what to say more than that, but it's difficult to relax into being. I would like to add at this point for me anyway.
Yes, I hear you. So let it be a call to arms. So I'm not saying anything about whether that fear is founded or unfounded, but just that it's fear and not actual war. And given that there isn't much you personally or I can do about that fact, about those circumstances, um, in terms of, you know, globally making it stop, um, what there is for us to do, the call to arms for us, has to do with our own minds and our own nervous systems. Noticing where our thinking minds go. And that in itself, at that level, you could say at the embodied human identity level, working with mind, is itself a kind of war. And it's something that we have to work at continuously. We notice our minds racing ahead in fantasies based on social media and news programming. Now, there's news programming. You can read what's what, put it aside and go, okay, now am I making images in my mind around that later? Yeah. What's it doing for me? It's churning up my nervous system. It's getting me excited. So, to what degree can we first take note rather than it being a totally automatic process without any awareness at all of worry, anxiety? We can take notice, oh, this is what's happening. We could get directly in touch with our feelings and, okay, there's a feeling of anxiety, there's a feeling of fear, and there's producing of imagery in the mind that's fearful. Can I put aside this that hasn't happened or is not in front of me like it is? Even if you're fantasizing about something that actually happened, I mean, I can do that. I can do that, and I do that every day when I watch the current government in our country. Can immediately call up things that are happening or happened, like they're not really happening because they happened yesterday or 2 hours ago or something. And I wasn't there, but they were reported. So I can easily make that image and go as if it's happening in this moment and as if I understand the whole context. Right. I'm getting all worked up. Now I'm not, please understand, I'm not counseling to ignore your rational and logical mind, which is aware of political circumstances and world work circumstances. But I am counseling to recognize that there's a kind of knowing of that in its objective sense. And objective sense even is like I saw a news program by certain people that reported this. So there's layers there that
Mm,
reality. There's not actually being in Ukraine and seeing it. There's not actually being in Russia in the meeting where they said what they're going to do, right? There's a reporting of a report of a report of a report that we get. And I'm not saying that that isn't something to be taken seriously at all, because it's the only thing we've got in terms of the 21st century, how we have information. This didn't happen in the 16th century, 14th century. You would be farming and you wouldn't know anything about the war until it actually was in your yard or you heard a town crier come in and his news was, I don't know, months late or maybe weeks late, depended. So there was a different kind of reaction time. But modern media has immediate reaction time of churning you up, and lots of people who make money if you tune in to see what will happen next. Lots of people, whole industries, individuals on YouTube, and whole industries that are basically vying for your attention. And everybody knows the best way to keep people tuned in is to keep them scared. So all of that is running interference with facts. We don't really know what's happening, but it seems pretty scary. And lots of people are in a reactive um, network of communication, scaring each other. The thing is that there's nothing you can do.
mm,
So you do have the luxury of stimulating your nervous system so that it will be hyped up all the time and upset. You definitely, that's all right. We are free to do that, and actually, no one can stop us from doing that. And most people make most of them, most of the people that I'm talking about would rather that you keep it hyped up because that tunes you into to have to listen to the next bit of news, or else you'll be out of the loop. You might not be able to know when to run or something like that, which is ridiculous because you'll hear the alarm bells or whatever in your neighborhood. I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, how are you going to, nothing you can do about it. So, whatever you can do to relieve your own nervous system and that whole, you feel feelings, you make images, and then you're reacting to your own internal images. To what? Now, I'm saying all this just to kind of encourage us to notice that. Not that we can, or you don't have to take my word. You definitely don't take my word for it. Notice in your own life. Oh, more imagery. And a lot of times when it stirs up this, what is it? How do I deal with this? I'm going to go put it on and watch it. Or I'll distract myself while I think about it, doing something
mm,
else. But it's still in the up there, but I'm gardening. It's so to notice, say, oh, this is actually mine. Thought is mine. It's in my own space of awareness. It's in my own space of awareness, this thinking. The imagery I make is my own dreaming mind. It's mine. So I can ignore it. I can also, there's all kinds of like new age kind of stuff, or even, really old spirituals kind of stuff where you can actually um, spend your time consciously producing different imagery. It's a bit like there's a metaphor, an old story in India where they have these guys who are elephant trainers, and sometimes they have to walk through a marketplace with their elephant because they have to go from A to B, and there's the marketplace. So they put a stick in the elephant's hand. I mean, elephant's hand, elephant's trunk. Otherwise, when you go through a marketplace, it likes to pick up the fruit and stuff. So you put a stick in its trunk, and then it doesn't just holds the stick and goes through there. So in the same way, there are literally practices, particularly in Buddhism and Tibetans have it really great. But you can visualize a saint or a cosmic Buddha who is just compassion and love, and you spend your time thinking about that. And of course, when a neighbor comes to tell you that the troops have entered into Tibet or whatever, then okay, put that as all right, put that aside, or you say, please help my nervous system calm as I go about evacuating or whatever I have to do, because you may have to do things, and whatever you do, you'll be better off soothing yourself, self-soothing, relaxing, kindness towards yourself, towards every reaction. That's the other thing to say about all of this, because we it's not easy to do this. I mean, I myself am not a shining example of turning my attention away from the traffic accident that this is. Yeah, it's hard in our country in particular because the guy in charge is, anyway. So there we there we go. But the thing is that it's like there's like some cute saying about, in the United States, I think it's probably throughout Europe now too, about somebody taking up real estate in your mind. Like there's
Mm.
like, they're taking up space in your head. Aren't they happy? It's like it's your head. You can, you can, and it's so that is one, you could say, level at which we are called to arms. The other, I think, which is a bit more, which is not separable, or you could say another level of that added to it, I think is helpful, is if, particularly if there's the part of the brain which they're always, or the mind that's always saying, well, that's nice, but I don't want to ignore what's going on. And actually, there really isn't very much we can do about what's going on. Again, like I said, if we were farmers in the 16th century and the king had gone to war, we'd still be farming until they invaded our country, or literally our country, like our land in that town, right? In that village. Unless, you had to give up your sons. That would be the horrible part, for you and local things. But otherwise, you'd be. So, what is there to do now about other beings? Well, certainly, if there's something that you can do it if you feel moved. But you have to be realistic. Like, what can I actually do? In cases of famines, you can give food, you can give clothing. If you're so disposed, you could go to famine areas and help, uh, or uh, or natural disaster areas, same things like that. You can do things or not. You can say, well, what am I going to or not? And if I'm not going to, then thinking about how horrible they are is not great. I'm not going to go. Am I going to go enlist so I can fight the war in Ukraine so it doesn't enter into the EU, or am I going to um, petition? There's all whatever there is. I mean, there's limited options really, but they're there. There's things. Okay, but that's not going to happen for most of us. But what we can do, where we can, another call to arms, is remember, and this is like a larger frame of reference, for everything that I've said up to now, that this has been going on always, that the degree to which we have not experienced war has been a luxury and a privilege. There have been people in Africa who've been in war, in the Middle East that have been war, in Asia that have been war, people in in third world countries all around the world who've been at war. South America have been at war every since World War II, but we call it the
Mm.
peace, right? So, what is it to be? We're now. What is it to be in a situation like ours? Now we are um, in communion. We can literally do meditations. We think of all the other people who are afraid right now of war and feel ourselves in communion with them and soothe ourselves and them internally in our mind's eye as a meditation, recognizing that we are in communion with every group of people for the last whatever, how long human beings have been on this planet who've been afraid of war. We are not alone. This is the human condition. And like every unpreferable condition, whether it's disease or famine or war or lonely old age, we have never been in a unique position. Everybody, well, everybody, every culture throughout time has had many people in our situation. And they are our family. And they are those with whom we can feel compassion for each other. And so we open up our field of feeling rather than contracted in our fear of our own situation. It's expanded into feeling compassion for all beings who've ever had to feel anything like this. This already puts us in a position where we can prime ourselves for mortality.
Mm.
Because that's what we're speaking about, right? We want control. We want to live. We want safety. We want all of these things, and there's always been people on this planet, always, who have none of those. Who are we? So our own ancestors went through this 80 years ago. And who are we? All of our colonies, including the United States colonies, not called colonies, all of the countries that we invaded and took over and took their whatever, all of those countries, the friends, ones that France did, the ones that England did, the one that all of those countries experienced what it was like to be insulted this way and put on edge this way and and they actually got conquered. So we're not in a it's this is the human condition, and the idea that we would be immune to it, and we're scared, and it hasn't even happened yet, right? So this is like an expansion of being able to hold that much. But I really do think noticing your own mind and how it goes is just going to make things better for you, whatever the situation is, whatever we end up doing, whatever situation. I mean, I used to have no sense of understanding, really, or like, what was the word I'm looking for? It's not quite understanding, sympathy for, I mean, a little bit, I lip service, but not much for Germans in the 30s.
Mm.
Now I have tremendous, it's like, holy, how could that happen? Wow. We're not there yet, but we're close. It depends on where you argue. At what point? We're at a certain point. We're not 1939 or 1940 yet, but we're, I don't know what
Mm.
year. I mean, it's so I now it's like, okay, expanded love, um, and compassion for everybody who's been in any situation that we're finding ourselves in. Now, as far as resting in being is a circumstantial thing for me to rest in being, right? It's kind of like orange, or it's kind of like um, being is something other than me that I rest in, right? And yeah, that can be because it's a circumstantial situation. I rest in being. Even doing self inquiry, I do self inquiry to know that I'm being. Even that, both of those are circumstantial. There's an I that does self inquiry. There's an I that rests in being, whether it's devotional, which is really kind of what I rest in being is. It's devotion. There's being, and she holds me, or it holds me, or it holds me, and I relax into it, right? Those are hard to approach with when the mind, when the attention is on mind that's churning and the nervous system is churning. It's not that easy to do it. And what ends up happening then is that all we have left is the concept of I'm I'm living in being. Is the concept of, or in the you could say in the orange or the devotional thing, the concept that yes, I know that I'm in being, but boy, I'm not feeling it. I
Mm,
can't do that now, like that kind of thing. Or the concept of I am being. Yeah, I know I'm consciousness itself, but I'm certainly not feeling that right now. I'm feeling freaked out, and there's an I that does feel freaked out. I know the I and the freaking out is arising in consciousness because I've experienced that some other time in memory. And as far as those are concerned, when one is stimulated at this level, that's you could say a foot in the door. That's okay. Just having the notion, the thought that I am surrounded in by I am in being itself, even though I'm not feeling it. I'm not
mm,
experiencing that necessarily, but I know it to be. Like at that level, belief is fine.
mm,
That's okay. Or memory, you could say that way,
mm,
because for most of us, it's more than just a belief. We've had experiences of that, even if it's just fleeting or just a kind of intuition or like, or moments. But there's a knowing, but it's not tangible in those moments when the mind is so when attention is so wrapped up in thinking, in imagery. So that's okay because that's a foot in the door. I mean, just having that as a whatever language you want to use, you could say emptiness, spaciousness, God, being, goddess, vastness is holding me, or I am already free in that. Just that belief at first as an idea will start to open and relax the nervous system, or can, particularly if you are doing the pulling away of attention from mind and just going right here, like what's here. You could even do like what's here in this room. There's the breathing, there's the body, and all this. What's actually here? Now, this can be done in a prison cell. What's here, actually? So the mind makes things mean something, and the mind pulls us away from what is. So it's like what is, and then it has an explanation for what it means. or not even what is, just someplace else. What isn't? Here's a movie. Get pulled into it. So if for a moment we can just let go of that, it means letting go of the illusion of control. That's what we're afraid of letting go of, the illusion of control. That's a lot of words. How's this landing for you, Victoria?
It's good. Yeah. Yeah. I know I'm going to come back to this and I'm taking away a lot. So thank you very much, Krishna.
I'm so welcome. You're so welcome. This is why exercise is good because it's because thinking doesn't happen as much when you're
Mm,
like, or going for walks in a park.
mm,
It's like the sky is still here, the ground is still here, the trees are still here, the birds are singing in this moment. True, we don't know what will happen later, but then as soon as you go into that, it's like it stops being I don't know what will happen later to I don't know. So it could be, and then we make it worse,
mm.
right? Rather than just staying at only don't know 100%. Only don't know 100% the birds are singing and the grass is green. That's it. So, all right, good. I'm so glad that this has been useful.